Good morning, moms of Master Books. My name is Brittany Pratt, and I serve as publicist for Master Books. Today, I am joined by one of our favorites, Rebecca Spooner. She is the author of our brand new elementary Bible course, More Than Words. I have a copy right here. Level 1 just came out earlier this month, and Level 2 is scheduled to come out, I think, early September. So if you're joining us this morning, please be sure to drop a comment below or off to the side, and just let us know that you are listening in. If you have any questions, I'll try and read through and see if there's anything that we can help answer. And then also, be sure to comment for a chance to have 2,500 reward points added to your masterbooks.com account. We'll choose one of our favorites later on this week, and then we'll let you know if you won. So jumping in, welcome, Rebecca. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Could you share a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your family, where you live, growing up as a homeschooled student?
Yes. So, I was the second oldest of 6 kids, and I was homeschooled all the way until about grade 10. I did go to public high school so that I could get a diploma, because that was one of the only ways back in the time. I've just kind of grown up in the homeschool world, and I loved being homeschooled. When I went to school, I had a couple little tastes of it when my mom would get pregnant and be overwhelmed, where she would put us all in school.
Right.
And I felt lost in the school system. I didn't understand why they did things. I was lost. And so I loved being homeschooled. I have such a close relationship with my siblings, I think, and my parents because of being homeschooled, and just a strong foundation in my faith. And I really believe that my foundation came from having the space to find out who I was and to build a relationship with God without having to spend all of my time and energy trying to be who everyone wanted me to be, which was my experience in school.
Right.
So that's kind of my background. And I am the mother of 5 kids. So my youngest is 5 years old. My oldest is 12 in a few weeks. And so I homeschooled them from the very beginning. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to homeschool my kids. I knew it, just needed to convince my husband. And so I just have loved homeschooling my own children as well. Also sometimes not loved it, but it's been a journey.
There's ups and downs.
And so just kind of going through, the journey of it and learning along the way. I kind of thought I knew what I was doing because I was homeschooled. I was like, yeah, no problem. I know what curriculum I'm going to use. I know what I'm doing. Like, I was homeschooled. This is like, don't tell me what to do. Okay, that's beneath me.
Right.
And then I realized that my children were all unique, and that I couldn't follow some formula. I had to create my own for every child and every situation and every season. And so, anyways, I'm married to an RCMP officer. We live in northern BC, Canada. So RCMP is like Due South, One Calls the Heart, some of those older movies, but the red surge, the hat, the hair. So they don't wear that all the time, but it's federal policing. And so we've moved about 4 different times. We have a little bit of a transient lifestyle. And so, we're worship leaders at our church. We're just passionate about God and raising our kids in His ways. And that's a little bit about who I am.
That's awesome. What do you do on the worship team?
So I lead worship together with my husband. So we sing, I play piano, and he sings and plays guitar, and we harmonize, and we love it. We love worship leading. This last week my daughter played violin with us. Sweet. And we're close to having my 9-year-old play bass with us.
Nice. And that's so fun. I love that. Awesome. So let's jump into More Than Words. Could you share a little bit how this project got started, kind of your heart behind writing the course?
Yeah. So honestly, it was just one of those things that I didn't even realize was on my heart until I was actually having a conversation with Randy. And I was just talking about, they were talking about some of the gaps that they had, and it blurted out of my mouth, and it almost shocked me afterwards that I said, if I were to write something, I would write a Bible curriculum for kids. And it was, who am I to have the authority to write a Bible curriculum? I don't have a degree in, I think go to Bible school. I did for a semester, but I didn't go to Bible school. Right. I don't have a degree in theology. Really, who am I to do this? And yet I'm so passionate about, and I see the gap in my own children's lives that there is something missing. My kids have gone to church their whole lives. They've grown up in this. I teach them at home. They know the Bible stories. They know the basics. We still have this epidemic. We have this problem where kids are growing up and they're not really taking on their parents' faith. They're never making it their own. And so what can I do about that in my own kids' lives? It has to be more than Bible stories. They have to learn what it means to be a Christian, and they have to have an actual tangible relationship with God. And so I'm passionate about that because I think it's something that's missing in the homeschool community, and it's just something that I wanted for myself, and so I just kind of blurted it out, and More Than Words was born with just a random, spontaneous comment.
That's so fun. That's cool. Some of my testimony is that, like, I also grew up, my dad was a pastor, my grandfather was a pastor, and so you grow up in the faith, but then it wasn't until I was like 13 that I kind of realized that I had been I'd attached myself to my parents' faith, but I hadn't made it my own. So I just kind of, I don't know, drifted on that instead of putting the work and effort into my own relationship with God. And I was just like tying my relationship to their relationship. So that's kind of a cool, I liked hearing about that. The subtitle of the course is Living Faith Bible Curriculum. What do you think makes this course a living faith curriculum? And how would you say that it makes it unique from other elementary Bible curriculums?
Yeah, so I love the title, and it actually, again, Randy was a big part in that. But living faith is essentially just that. Let's teach our kids how to live out their faith, how to walk out their relationship with God. And so bringing in that more than words, more than just praying a prayer and living your life however you want. And it's more than that, more than Bible stories, but at the same time, this living faith component where it's both bringing the Bible to life and making it real to kids, and that application that this means something to you, but also understanding how to live out and walk out their faith, and to take that path to be in the world but not of the world. That's a difficult thing for all of us. And so that was kind of my heart behind it. What I think makes it different than anything else that is out there is, one, that it's not just Bible stories. I think that the fact that it's going into the basics of theology, who is God, what it means what the Christian faith is kind of all about, the fact that it zeroes in so much on our identity. I think that we have an identity called crisis in our culture right now, where kids are constantly bombarded with, you might not be who you think you are, and do you really know? And there's not really any rules around that. And so teaching our kids that actually they are who God created them to be, and that there are some very specific things that they can grab onto and tether themselves and ground themselves with. Not just are you a boy or a girl, but you can tether yourselves with your identity in Christ and who he made you to be. There are some hard and fast things that they can hold on to. So I think that it's just so different in that. I think that it's different in that it is fun and engaging. It brings in all of those serious, deep things, but with fun and silly stories and like copywork and Charlotte Mason and beautiful, but also light. And that was part of my passion behind it. Both, I wanted something for my kids, and I'm passionate about children in this generation. But on the flip side, I'm a homeschool mom who's drowning. And one of the things that I noticed, even myself, the problem that we're facing is that we so badly we carry this weight, the weight of doing everything. We're worried about math. We're worried our kids are going to be behind in reading. Are they doing their spelling? Are they getting it out? Is the number one question we ask ourselves as homeschool moms. And so we're so focused on making sure our kids aren't behind, that we are not the cause of something, that what is actually the most important for us as Christians, that our kids have a relationship with God and their faith and their soul and salvation, actually goes to the side because there's just not enough time with everything that we're cramming in and that is so important. So I needed to make a way for this to be possible to add in without bringing extra stress, or pressure to us as parents. So that's why I brought in a lot of these Charlotte Mason principles. There's even language arts things that I bring in. They do poetry studies. They are studying stanzas and rhyme and rhythm.
Yeah.
They are doing word studies and looking in the thesaurus for antonyms and synonyms. I mean, I brought as much other subjects as I could into it, so that it is taking actual weight off of you. You get to do some of these amazing Charlotte Mason beautiful things, but in like 10 minutes a day, where it's just do it, right? So that was that's what I think makes it so unique and different.
Yeah, I was looking through some of the lessons. Like I read through a few of the lessons, and I think it's cool because it goes so deep, but it's such a fun, lighthearted way of doing it. Like I was reading through some of the table of contents. So like week 1, you cover the Trinity. Week 2, God is love. Week 3, God is good. Week 4, God is eternal. Week 5, God is everywhere. 6, God is beyond understanding. God knows everything. What is God's name? So these are some like heavy, like deep topics that you can get into, but going through the lessons, they were done in such a fun, lighthearted way. I love it.
Yeah, it was super fun to write. And I love that it was just fun because, of course, I really put my heart and soul and even family into these. This is my kids I'm talking about, right? So I think that took some vulnerability on my behalf, and it took a little bit more out of me. But there's an aspect in it that makes it really real and relatable for kids. That this is real stuff. We're talking about real issues, and we're bringing in real people into it. And I think that's another kind of unique aspect to it.
Yeah, it's a fun tie-in. So Rebecca used two of your kids' names, and kind of used their stories and journal entries and that sort of thing into it. And I did think that was really cool. I'm like, oh, these aren't just like whatever stories, like these, like if I was a kid, like for the age range of this course, I can be like, oh, there's other kids that are going through this right now, and this is what they're learning, and that's super cool. So if you are just joining us, again, my name is Brittany Pratt. I serve as publicist for Master Books. I am joined by our author, Rebecca Spooner. She is the author of our brand new elementary Bible course, More Than Words. This released earlier this month, and then level 2 is supposed to release early September. Rebecca, could you tell us a little bit about what it took to kind of research and compile and put together this course?
Yeah, so research was huge in this course. I mean, topically, I felt like it was fairly easy because, especially in this level, the next level is a little bit more detailed. But in this level, I was trying to keep it very simple and keep the teaching like very, very short so that we're not overwhelming. We're dealing with shorter attention spans. And the stories, of course, were more creatively based. But trying to find beautiful classic art, trying to find hymns that all could tie into this deep lesson about like the Trinity, like that was very difficult.
I can imagine.
Difficult, yeah. So trying to find it, like I spent just hours reading through hymn after hymn after hymn and looking at different pictures and trying to find ones that would give our kids this beautiful, and using different mediums. I wanted to show, oil paintings and really teach our kids about art at the same time. And so there was just so many facets I was trying to tie together as a homeschool mom, but also as trying to, really keep everything, bringing it back to the lesson. So it was, and I have my thesaurus open page over here that I'm looking up words, word study, and it was very detailed, very, very detailed, lots of research, and then lots of times going back, and I would add new elements in as I went, because I realized like small little things that when you're reading through, you probably wouldn't notice, but things like check it with the word. I was writing this curriculum, and I was like maybe a quarter of the way through, and I realized I wanted this to be prominent. I wanted it to be an actual part of it, and I wanted it to be in everything, where not just we're going to see what the Bible has to say about this, but let's draw our attention to the fact that everything, I don't care if I'm saying it, I don't care if your pastor's saying it, I don't care if you hear it in a book, everything should be tested with the word of God. No one is the authority above Jesus. And so I wanted that element in there. I wanted our kids to really focus on that. Or at the end of character studies, here we're teaching our kids about this character trait, but at the end of that, putting, not on my own strength, because it's not about our striving. It's not about how hard we try. So I would add in these elements and, just really trying to connect the pieces and build this foundation, not just in what the actual lessons are, but also teaching our kids how to study the Bible and what that means when we are trying to discern things. And so those kind of elements, it just took a lot of thought, a lot of prayer. I prayed over every lesson, and so it was very in-depth process.
That's awesome. What age range would you say level 1 and then level 2 would be for? Would you say that this is a course more like directed towards a specific age, or is it something that could be used across multiple age levels at one time?
For sure, multiple age levels. Originally, we designed it for K to 3, and then once we were going through the publishing process, we kind of put 1 to 3 because for kindergarten, it can be a little bit advanced in some of the areas. Now, as far as adaptations, you can adapt that, and so it's very easy, I think, to adapt, which is why we can take this grades 1 to 3, which is probably the primary age range. And we can expand that, and I've got families that are using it with up to 15 years old, and they're having their teens teach their younger kids, or up to, I would say, to use independently or to use with your family up to 12 years old. I'm using it with my 12-year-old. We're going to start with level 1. We're not waiting with level 2. Level 2 is designed for grades 4 to 6. And then there's going to be 2 more on top of that. We're doing level 3 for 7 to 9 and level 4 for 10 through 12. So it's going to take your kids all the way through. The problem that you're faced with then is, if I use this in grade 1, now what? And so that's where there's some different adaptations that we can talk about, but there's some different ways that you can do that to make it last a little bit longer. But that's the key age ranges.
Does level 1, do you have to complete level 1 to jump into level 2, would you say, when that releases, or do you think they can be done independently from each other?
They can absolutely be done independently. The table of contents is the same. So what they're going to be learning about, the topics are the same. The 4 quarters are the same. So I did that to allow parents to decide to do it together, or they could also jump in. What I made different was pretty much everything in between. I mean, of course, the stories are different. There's some different elements added in that make it more challenging and more engaging for kids of that age range. But yeah, it's designed so that you can jump in and edit the level. There's no need to do the previous ones.
Okay, sweet. I think getting in a little bit deeper, what would a typical lesson look like? What is a breakdown of a typical week using this course for a student?
Right. So the main thing is, I mean, you're looking at level 1, which means that whether you're doing it with your family, lots of people want to do it as a morning basket in a book, which is how I kind of advertise it. Morning basket in a book, it's got all those amazing Charlotte Mason things. So you can do it like that, or you can just do it with your child independently, but you are going to have to likely do it with them unless they're reading, which in K to 3, or 1 to 3, you may not have that yet, right? So you're going to start off with a journal entry, and that's based on one of my children. It alternates between Malachi and Aaliyah, which is how to pronounce their names in case you're wondering. And so I did that so that, again, we're tying in boys together with girls. I really wanted it to be applicable to both. I've seen some people say that maybe this is feminine, or worry that this won't work for their boys. And I mean, Malachi is a boy to the core. I mean, he is just rough and tumble boy. So I did try to bring both those in so that it would appeal to either. So once you read that, there's just a little bit of teaching, like my little kind of snippet about it, and there's a let's talk about it. So you're going to discuss. So it's going to have this journal entry, and there's some discussion, a little snippet, and then there's a check it with the word. And I'm just going to do this because this might. So they're going to do a check it with the word, and this is where they're going to start to bring in what does the Bible say about this, right? So not just what we say, this is what introduces it through story. What does the Bible say? It introduces a Bible verse, and then they have their key truths that they're going to copy. Now, K probably could do this. This is where the adaptation is. You could do this entire day 1 and do it with the kindergartner. They could probably do that copy work too. It's like 4 words, and so you could do that whole lesson. Day 2, they're going to do copy work of that Bible verse. So again, it's tying into the lesson. That is what, if you're adapting it, you may not want to have a younger student do the copy work. Save that for round 2. And then there's a picture study, and this alternates. So it's a picture study today. Next week, it would be a poem, and the week after would be a hymn study. And so it alternates between those 3 aspects. And so the picture studies go deep into, again, tying in with the biblical truth, but also there is actual art teaching. Look for the lights, look for the shadow. Light tells us usually is when the artist wants to focus on something.
Right.
What do you think the artist is saying through this? What is the medium that was used? This is an oil painting. So there's actual art teaching. The poems I wrote all myself. And so those are all really fun, light, very easy to understand, and they tie into the lesson. And then the hymns is just a verse that is interpreted, and it encourages you to go listen to it. There are hymns at the back that you can do the whole hymn if you want to, but it's just to help our kids begin to understand, because they're often in older language and they're difficult. So there's that hymn study built in. That's day 2.
Nice.
Day 3 is a character study. So every single week has a character study built into it. And I designed this because I was looking for character curriculum. Well, why not bring that into Bible, right? So it just has a tiny little teaching, and then there's word studies built into all of these. So if you were adapting it for younger, just do that little teaching about it and the coloring page, which is on the next page, right? So they can just do those 2 things, and that's it. If you're using it with the upper range, then you would do the word study. And in this age range, all it is the very first weeks they're learning, what is a synonym? It just means a word that means a similar thing. What is an antonym? And so they just circle your favorite synonyms, circle your favorite antonyms. So the whole year is focusing just on what are these other words. 2 reasons for that. First of all, I've never done word studies with my kids, but I realized that my own understanding of reading words that are similar, that mean something, it helps expand my understanding of the word. Or even sometimes more powerful, seeing the opposite meaning is like, oh, all of a sudden it clicks.
Right.
But also to now bring in this language arts component where we're bringing that into it, and helping our kids have more understanding of now essentially how to use a thesaurus. So I think that there's a lot of applications for that. So that is day 3. Day 4 is essentially their response to it. So they're going to draw, and it gives them a prompt of what they're going to draw that's going to relate to either the character or the weekly lesson, and then they're going to journal. And so usually it asks them to remember their key truth, and then to write a response in some way. Was there a time that you experienced this or whatever? So it's their response to it and bringing that in. So that's kind of a typical week, what it would look like with all the variations.
That's super awesome. And I noticed in the back of the book that I was looking at earlier, you have additional resources. You talked about the poems and the hymns being in there, and kind of like the longer versions are in the back. I also noticed you have these, the key truths that they learn throughout the week are also in the back. I love that. Those would be so fun to kind of make. I would make copies and stick them to bathroom windows or bathroom mirrors. Around your bedroom, the school bulletin board. I think those are cool things to just kind of pin around the house to as reminders throughout the week as you're learning about it. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and those are a lot of people have been asking about those, and mainly those are just resources. They're not anything you have to use, which is why there's no instruction around them. The key truth cards, there are some games in the review where it will ask them to take them out and hop on each one and try to remember. So there are some applications for it with the key truth cards, but the hymn studies are just there for you guys. And that wasn't even something I was gonna do. That was something they're like, hey, why not interpret all of them and just have it in case parents want to use it. So that's just a freebie, but the key truth cards, I love that idea. A lot of people are too laminating them and putting them on rings, so there's lots of different ways that you can use them for games, activities, review, and to go through or however you want. Right. So they're just resources.
Right. No, they're super fun. I love them. So the course is broken down into 4 units or 4 different quarters, and each quarter kind of tackles different topics. What are those topics that you dive into for each quarter?
Yeah, so quarter 1 is who is God. And I thought, let's give our kids a foundation before we even begin this Bible curriculum of who is this God that we serve? Who is this God that Christianity is based on? Who is this God that we want to have a relationship with? And so just, literally we go into God is love, God is omnipresent, he can be everywhere at once. And I sometimes don't even use the big words and terms, but more just teaching them that these are parts of God's character. And so going into some of those different things, and talking about those. Quarter 2 is who am I? And so that whole unit is based on our identity in Christ. And so it's, I all have sinned. So I am imperfect. I am fallen. I am chosen. I am a child of God. I am adopted into his family. And so bringing in these things that who does God say I am, that we can hold on to and see that, everyone has sinned. No one is perfect. And yet I am saved because of, and so that has a lot of actually theology in those first 2 units built into it of just this is what it means essentially.
Right. No, that's awesome.
And then,
I think it's really important to understand who God is before we can truly understand who we are, because we're a reflection of God.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about that too. We're made in his image. And so, and I think that's actually one of the weeks. So, so those kind of things. Quarter 3 is what it means to be a Christian. And basically that is what that entire quarter is about. So we talk about some of the main famous things. There's the 10 Commandments, there's the armor of God, there's the fruit of the Spirit, there's the gifts of the Spirit. We talk about some of those elements of being a Christian, praying, and how do we pray? We talk about the Lord's Prayer as an example, and worship. What does it mean to worship? And then quarter 4 is the great relationship, and that's where we tie it all together into a little bit more application of, okay, we know who God is and who we are, and some of the kind of groundwork of being a Christian, but now how do we walk that out? That's that living faith portion of now, how can I be this person? How can I have this relationship with God? How does God change me? Which is really, and we talk about that the renewing of your mind. We talk about taking every thought captive and not just being a slave to our thoughts, where we just are this way and that way and just at the whim of whatever we're thinking. That we have to actually test our thoughts with what the Bible says and what God says. And so bringing in that, how to have a relationship with God and how to be this light in the world. And so it's more of the application of it, and it's one of my favorite units. So yeah, that's the layout.
Sweet. I know there was a clarifying question in the comments. Let me look really quick. Jennifer asked, is level 2 the same info for just a higher grade? I know we touched on that a little bit. Okay, so I think she's asking, when we discussed whether you said that the table of contents were the same for book 1 as it is for level 2. So she's asking, is level 2 the same information just for a higher grade, or is it something that a student could transition from level 1 to level 2?
Yeah, so you can easily transition. That's built right into there. It's essentially the framework and the topics are the same, but it is much more in depth and geared towards that age. Of course, I actually wrote it based on my 10 and my 11-year-olds. And so my 10-year-old is probably more behind and not really interested in a lot of things. And so it's very, adventure-based and lighter. And then my 11-year-old is a little bit more advanced. Is my son. He's almost 12. And so I had to try to create stories and lessons. And one of the things my son said to me when he was looking through my samples is, I have this mission. At the end of every single day of level 2 is a secret mission, a top secret mission, and that's application built into every day. And so I showed him this mission, which was an optional day 5. And he said, Mom, that's really cool, but could you make that every day? Because I get disappointed when I go to curriculum and it's exciting and then it's the next day it's just boring. Right. And I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll get right on that. So I decided to do that. I decided to have these missions, things like we're learning about come boldly before the throne. And so there's these missions, these secret missions. Okay, we're going to try to build a diorama of the throne. What do you think? Like, how big would it be? And build it with Lego. And so really trying to have an adventure fun. The word studies are deeper. The poems are way deeper. We start to teach about different types of poetry. The picture studies go into more depth. There's more required, like with art, there's a little bit more writing involved. There's actual scripture memory work involved now instead of just the key truth memory work. So it's got different components that are much more challenging, but also much more engaging and adventure-based, because we want this age range who can now do stuff more independently to really be captured and want to do it. And so I tried to make everything really fun in level 2, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. I hope that helps answer your question, Jennifer. I know there were a couple of people chiming in on that. tying in a little bit to that, would you say, I guess I'll ask this question for each level, is it more activity driven, or is it, would you say more just open and go? And trying to remember going through, I don't think there's a big list, at least in level 1, of things that are required to do the course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the course supply list, colored pencils, crayons, markers, scissors, stickers. It doesn't look like there's a lot of things like out of the normal that you would use to jump into this. Are there a lot of activities that are done throughout the course?
So in your review weeks, which is the 9th week of every quarter, the last week of every quarter, there's journaling and there is a project. So that's where that poster board comes in. So for quarter 1, they are going to do a creative connection, artistic hands-on project. They're going to gather a poster board, stickers. They're going to write "Who is God?" They're going to lay the poster board with just your head and up or down body, and they're going to trace themselves essentially, and they're going to write key truths and character traits they learned about who God is decorated. So that would be a hands-on project. Your quarter review is totally optional. And I put it in there as, like, obviously that is a hands-on project, but I just put it in there as something you can do to help reflect on what you've learned. You do not have to. The rest of the stuff in there is like a, what are these called? A word puzzle kind of thing, right? So there's that, there's journaling, and then there's just a bit of talking and a game with their key truths part. So other than those 2 elements, the game and the poster kind of creative art connection with the review, it is open and go. And the main reason behind that, and I know not everybody is like me, lots of people love super hands-on. I like the idea of hands-on, but I'm overwhelmed by hands-on. And I tend to avoid curriculum that's very hands-on and project-based. So I needed, even for myself, I needed something that would just be open and go. I want to sit on the couch and drink my coffee and read to you. And then I want to say, here, now do this sheet. And so that's what's built into that. But because it's done in such a fun and engaging way, kind of this doodly artistic, I think it's still really, really engaging for your kids. But yes, it's not teacher intensive, and it is not a hands-on. It's very easy to use. It's very open and go, and that's the way it was designed.
That's awesome. Thank you. Alicia asks, is this one book or does it come in a set? It is each book. So level 1, it comes in just this individual book. And then level 2, that's going to be the same, correct? Okay.
Yeah, one book.
Okay. Looking through any more comments or questions that we can touch on. I'm not seeing a lot of questions. I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Means we're getting everybody their answers. Well, awesome. So, just again, we discussed today More Than Words level 1. Level 2 is scheduled to release in early September, so we're really excited for the release of that. I guess to wrap it up, I would say, Rebecca, there's a mom at a convention, she comes up to you at the table, and you have about roughly 30 seconds to convince her why she should buy More Than Words to use with her kids. What would you say? And I know I'm kind of putting you a little bit on the spot, so.
Oh man, 30 seconds. More Than Words is a Bible curriculum for younger children that makes deep biblical truths and theology and principles of being a Christian come to life, and is packaged in a way that is simple and easy to understand, engaging, and designed to draw your kid into it and make the Bible something that they are excited about, something that they're passionate about, and lay the groundwork and foundation for them to begin to take this journey of making their faith their own. And the entire series is based on that. Towards the end, like, as it progresses, the whole point of this program is to show your kids what it means to have a relationship with God, and begin to inspire them and give them the tools that they need and the grounding that they need to make their faith their own and to own it. So that would be my part behind it.
I love that. I love that a lot. There were one more question. when will previews be available for level 2? And those will go up roughly a month to when the book is supposed to release. So I think that is it. If anybody has any more questions, be sure you can drop them in the comments, and we'll be keeping an eye on it over the next week. You're in the Moms of Master Books too, so Rebecca can chime in on any of those as well. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved having you.
Thanks for having me.
Randy will be back on Thursday for his regularly scheduled teaching tips. And yeah, so in the meantime, God bless, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.